If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Spending a few minutes with Police Chaplain Mark Ledbetter. And Mark's a chaplain here in Sylacauga with the police department, with the Talladega County Sheriff's Department. He's a chaplain for hospice and a chaplain at the hospital. And other than that, he's not doing anything. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. No, I have all the time in the world.
Yeah. Paint the town blue. That's the theme this week. Explain.
Yes. Part of our law enforcement appreciation in Sylacauga and the surrounding area is we're asking merchants, residents, civic organizations, anyone who would recognize and appreciate what our law enforcement officers do for our community by placing a blue ribbon on the storefront.
I've already seen a lot of that.
I've seen some at Fort Williams Pharmacy, Pete's Feed and Seat, and Don Conville, Erlene's, put a big bow at the flagpole. And he told me yesterday, he said a lot of orders. So I really appreciate the effort that people are making towards this. It's just one way to let our police officers know that we do appreciate what they're doing. Of course, a lot of what they're doing people don't recognize or know and understand, but they're doing a lot that for our community, and they deserve to say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing.
I, like you, have children. They're
Yes.
still our children, even though they're adults in law enforcement. And,
Right.
and we're really drawn back to the reality of this thing with the tragic shooting last night of an officer in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yes. This is unfortunately a common event that's escalated the last few years, in fact. We've had at least 85 with this new incident, 86 in the U.S. who have been killed in the line of duty. And over half of them have been resulted by assaults on officers, gunfire or even vehicular assault or in pursuits. And so this is tragic. It was a little higher last year, but the reason for these assaults and deaths has shifted. It used to be response to domestic violence or active shooter situations, but what we're finding now, there's an increased number of ambushes on these assaults. And I was at a recent law enforcement safety presented by FBI, and they were sharing how the trends have shifted, and there's more and more ambush assaults on our law enforcement officers.
A lot of stress on law enforcement officers that's outside of the job that goes with them all the time.
Yes, sir. Everybody has stress. Stress, if it's handled properly, will hold up the Golden Gate Bridge, or you can play a nice note on a piano or a guitar if that stress is managed. Law enforcement officers, they're subject to the same stress everyone else is subject to. But they have additional stress that makes their stress unique, that has what is called burst stress. And you can be sitting in your squad car and get a call out that there's a robbery in process, or there's been an accident, there's been something, and you have to respond. And a lot of times you get there, there's an out of control situation, and the officer has to be able or expected to gain control of the situation. And if there's a fight going on, or if there's a robbery taking place, and or any of these incidents, they don't always have the resources to get the immediate control, and it takes a process, and people want it now. They want it now. And so they have to go from calm to out of control situations, and it accumulates. Every time you hear a call from dispatch, there's something they have to attend to. And you do this over a period of a 12-hour shift. At the end of the day, you're going to have a cumulative stress level that is a lot different than what you and I. When I get dressed, I don't think about when I put on that duty belt or that vest that subconsciously I'm saying, I could encounter a dangerous situation today, a life-threatening situation. I may be confronted with someone, and I don't want to have to pull out my taser or my pepper spray, and I certainly don't want to pull out my gun on anybody. They all want everybody to go home safe and sound.
One thing that's really alarming, and the statistics bear this out, suicides among law enforcement.
This is dear to my heart. Suicide rates exceed line of duty deaths. In New York City, they have had 9 suicides since January. Their set of circumstances is unique because of their situation, but they have a high number in Chicago. They have tremendous pressure. Unfortunately, they resort to other things to try to manage it, and we'll just be very candid here. Many are not handling the stress well, and they'll resort to alcoholism. Alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, or a combination of all those things. They have this police stress, or law enforcement stress, but they also, as I've mentioned, they have mortgages to pay, they have car payments, they have kids to raise, they have all the other things that everyone else faces, but you put on top of that, it's quasi-military stress too. Military is under a lot of stress. So we find that when you put it all together, some are not coping, obviously. And my appeal would be, hey, we need to get all the support we can for law enforcement officers.
And that takes us back to Paint the Town Blue this week.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know, going back to the line of duty deaths, I don't know if people are aware that Sylacauga's had 2. One in 1914, the police chief at that time, Chief Sanford Perryman was killed in line of duty, and then in 1952, which you probably remember.
No. Fortunately, no.
No, Rex Sanford was also killed in line of duty. It's just a stressful situation, but you can help unburden them by just expressing appreciation for what they do. I appreciate, as you and I both know, just expressing appreciation goes a long way. You're doing a good job. I appreciate your service. Buy them a meal. A lot of officers do not like to be approached and say, "Hey, thank you." They're very gracious, but they're wary of that because just because you could bake some goods and we can get it to them down at the station. We have a good staff. We have good officers in Sylacauga. They're very conscientious. They're bound to protect and serve, and I get to see it firsthand because I do get to. In fact, I had a ride along last night, so I see what they're doing firsthand.
Let's get those blue ribbons out there and
get them out. Show them. Early just taking orders. That's what he told me yesterday. He's taking orders. Then there's a rumor that Hobby Lobby's run out of blue ribbon. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that last night.
I was down at the Lily yesterday, and man, there was blue everywhere down there.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay,
and,
great.
Brand new florist opening in town yesterday. Mark, we're short of time this morning to get you back and talk about the Coosa Valley Ministerial Association a little bit later on. A lot of events happening there. Is there something together that the city of Sylacauga is doing? This is part of it. Hey, this is your opportunity to step up and use your imagination. Yeah.
The mayor is reading a proclamation tonight at City Council, but the 21st is official Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, but we want to paint the town blue, let them know how much we appreciate what our law enforcement officers are doing.
All right, Mark, thanks for dropping by this morning.
Thank you.
Chaplain Mark Ledbetter, our guest this morning. We got more Daybreak in a moment.